All right. Hello. Welcome again to the morning session of the New York AM Silver Bullet. And yeah, as always, 10 minutes, slightly more, but 10 minutes is about right. Before the 10 a.m. Welcome the crew. Hello, Breaker Futures. Welcome to the stream, and hello, Money Glitch. NQ. Good morning, my friend. And let's review what has developed since the London Open time window. Hello, Mr. Kokoro for FX. Welcome. A new face. Haven't seen you before. But yeah, nonetheless, since the London Open session, we basically continuously were selling off and seeking lower prices. And we are back inside of this daily bullish fair value gap by nature or by name. And so far we are hanging around in the upper half of it. We do have the Wednesday's low from the morning session. Let me go to the RTH chart. This is Wednesday's trading low, so there is sell liquidity down there. Mr. Breaker Futures is done already. That's great to hear. And all right, we have a very large discount opening range gap for today's trading. It's really significant in terms of range. That's over 400 handles. These type of gaps many times tend to offer a measure of continuation in the direction of the gap, which means if the gap is lower like this, we could reasonably expect that after maybe sweeping the initial high or trading above the initial high at 9:30 into thereabouts the lower quadrant of this range, that could formulate a continuation lower, especially towards that sell side, and maybe some exploration inside of the lower half of the daily bullish fair value gap. So I'll annotate the lower quadrant of the Friday's opening range gap, so today's one. And it's about there. And opening range gap. All right, since the open, large open lower, we had short-term low taken, short-term low taken, short-term low taken, and reaching towards that Wednesday low, but yet failed to take it out. What do we have in terms of the first presentation? In terms of the first presentation, there is a small inefficiency here at 9:37. But I kinda like this one a little bit more because it's a little bit more pronounced in here than this one, but sticking to the core definition, this is technically the first presented fair value gap for today. But again, I'm kind of liking this one more a little bit because it offered more pronounced run on this low here, and it's slightly larger. But both are, in my opinion, a reasonable choice in the matter. So this one, I will go with this one nonetheless for now. All right, we still have 7 minutes to go before the 10 a.m. silver bullet hour starts for today. And it seems like we are trying to reach towards the not new day, but opening range gap and this high. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. If we could do that. And then potentially turn around and trade towards the sell liquidity and the consecutive encroachment of this daily bullish fair value gap. And yep. We'll see what we get. Nonetheless, the levels are basically outlined for now, which are the main focus, I believe. And yeah, I was just checking if the stream is correct, but yeah, it should be fine. All right, so the dollar index still has a little bit of room to push above this high here. So a little bit of lift on the dollar index would be reasonable. That could happen, I believe, or I assume. Let me check the ES. ES also opened with a large gap to the downside. It traded, or it trades already into the daily bullish fair value gap as a potential inversion fair value gap because we went below it. So ES has definitely a measure of reasonable pressure on it too, to go potentially lower. And yeah, let's watch now and observe the levels. Going to the electronic trading hours, we do have this buy liquidity here from the pre-market, basically, that is around the lower quadrant here of the opening range gap. So that's like the extent of where it could draw up into first before potentially wilting lower towards the sell side. But yeah, we'll see. The normal or standard protocol when it comes to the opening range gaps is that in the first 30 minutes to an hour, we can reasonably expect the price trying to get back into the 50% of the gap. But when we are dealing with these way larger, these enormous gaps that are over 200 handles, over 300 handles, 400 handles, in that case, we assume that price is more likely to continue in the direction of the gap and less likely to reach the 50%. So we lower the expectation to the lower quadrant as like reasonable idea, but yeah, not going to the lower quadrant would be even like showing further weakness on the part or side of the Nasdaq, right? But yeah, we'll see what we get. Kind of like a nice sharp low in here, which this looks like a potential bullish breaker in here. I'm not necessarily very bullish about it right now, so I rather prefer looking for the sell side. Nonetheless, a measure of buy side taken first would be ideal. Right now we are engineering relative equal highs around the low of the opening range gap for Friday's trading. And in my opinion, if we could bulk up a run to clear that buy side liquidity first and then starting rolling over, that would be like the ideal scenario for the morning session today. If we could see that, but that will probably remain to be seen what we get there after all. So because we have this type of smooth level on the highs in here, I wouldn't be comfortable going short at the market by any means, because we could still see reasonably a return to those very highs. And yeah, 1 minute until the 10 a.m. There are no news for today. There were no news basically. So we'll see what the volatility of the first hour will give us. So far, it looks kind of consolidated. It looks like kind of overlapping on both sides. So this price action in here looks pretty balanced out. And we covered a lot of range since Asia. Since Asia price melted almost 600 handles or so. So that's a significant amount of a run, definitely. And yeah, there is still potential for it to go, but let's see. Ranges are large, so maybe some measure of a scalp or more scalpish type of silver bullet type of idea. Smaller range, smaller objective would be possible today. I'm not really looking for much, but let's see. It has to have a sound logic behind why it should go where. So this first presentation in here, that's working basically as inversion fair value gap, but already kind of sloppy, closing below it. That's kind of suspect. And with that said, we are starting the 10 a.m. 10 a.m. So let's watch the price. Let's study it. Let's taper it, and maybe we can figure out something that makes sense to engage on. And we'll see how it will go. So price took the short-term low, traded into this inversion fair value gap, kind of deep on the bodies, so I'm not a fan. That's kind of suspect. And now we are turning into this inefficiency in here, so let's see how it does. Still keeping in mind that these relative equal highs are very, very, very clean and smooth, and they could be targeted initially, I suppose. So let's see how it goes. Already trading above or outside of this SIBI. So that if we close above it, that can act as potential bullish inversion fair value gap. There we go. So I'm changing the color. So now I'm watching whether it offers any actual discount sensitivity around here and whether it sends price higher towards those highs. That would kind of make sense though, not gonna lie, but taking the fact how rangy, how consolidated, how efficient this range already is, I'm a little bit more cautious. A little bit more cautious. But all right, we close above it. Then the very next candle already negated the idea of this being or acting as bullish inversion fair value gap. So it goes back to its original function. So it should act as a SIBI, a bearish fair value gap. Back into this one here. And let's see if we can find any sensitivity around it. If it drops and takes the sell side right away, I will probably for the remaining of the session be looking for the buy side next. But let's see, if we go for the buy side first, then I would like the idea of it rolling over too. So kind of playing it by ear as it is right now. All right, it repriced to the low of this inversion fair value gap. The bodies are staying in the upper half, so that's constructive for potential higher prices, not nonetheless. But right now we are kind of stuck between two PD arrays, one that's potentially bearish and one that's potentially bullish. And this is kind of like a arm wrestling match where we're kind of trying to judge which one shows more strength behind it. And yeah, they are very strong opponents on both sides, so we'll see. Not trying to necessarily predict that at this moment. So that's pretty fine. Nonetheless, we are still inside of the opening range from the high to the low. This is the opening range. And we are just dealing inside of it. And one side has relatively cool highs, so this is potentially a likely draw on the upside. Let's see. So far, this inversion fair value gap is pretty nicely respected in here with the bodies. But if that's the case, if this is showing discount sensitivity, the SIBI up here should be giving way and price should have an easy time trading above it. So far, we don't see it necessarily right now, so nothing to be worried about, I guess, at this moment. I'll add the minor buy side and sell side liquidity pools that are salient for this little range. That's where the buy side resides, that's where the sell side resides. And we are kind of in the middle, banging between two PD arrays. So I kind of want to wait and see what we'll get out of it and how price will actually deliver. All right, trading back into the CB again. Let's see if we can close above it. If we could do that, I would potentially look for this to act as a potential bullish inversion fair value gap. Again, it failed once, but if we can close above it and then respect it, that's good enough for me. So as the time being, it looks like this inversion fair value gap won the arm wrestling match, and that this CB gave way, which kind of like suggests higher prices. And if that's the case, where it's likely gonna go? These highs, right? That's like the most obvious. So let's change the color to the inversion, potential inversion for value gap. And let's see what we get, if we get any return at all. All right. So far, it looks like it might not even want to come back to it. And it might just shoot for the highs in here. That could be a one way of delivering it here. But again, if that's the case, I'm really like looking for these relative equal highs to set up potential reversal and go lower. That's something that I have in mind. Not to force the idea, but we'll see if that will hold any validity to it. We'll see about how about that. Okay, a large down candle lower, tapping into this inversion fair value gap. So right now, the bodies are not permitted to be seen in the lower half of this inefficiency. This touch alone is enough for it to trade higher, I believe. That's about 90 handles a range from the high of the inversion fair value gap to the relative equal highs. So yeah, that could have been a potential silver bullet that could have been reasonably considered, in my opinion. So let's see whether it would pan out or not. I'm already kind of like too late on it. So I either would enter on this inversion for value gap here, or I'm not allowed to chase it here. So yeah, nice stretch towards the buy side. It's so smooth and it's laying on top of the opening range gap for today that it should have no problems to really reach up into it. Right? So that's a pretty nice delivery here, after all. And the buy side is tagged. So very nice price run off of this inversion fair value gap to the relative equal highs buy side liquidity. And that's the bullet that I didn't took. Well. Well. Those always go so fast. So fast. But let's see. Now, as we are taking the relative equal highs, I have outlined the range up into the lower quadrant of that opening range gap too. We'll see if we can validate any reversal type of idea after the buy set is being taken out in here. So that's kind of like the next idea that I potentially have, or potentially I will study that and how it goes. And the way how we will trade from those relative equal highs towards the 25% of the opening range gap will be telling a lot of the story, I suppose. Alrighty. No, I don't think so, Money Glitch. I don't think so. I think backtesting is the holy grail, actually. But it's mostly overlooked. All right. So it's still very early into the 10 a.m. We already ran out the relative equal highs buy side liquidity inside of a bearish day so far. So if it's gonna offer any opportunity to continuation lower, that's reasonably the area where it could facilitate up to the lower quadrant in here. Yeah, this expansion was insane, to be honest. It was so fast and so quick that yeah, you kind of could saw this type of expansions on the 1 minute charts many times, right? During some high impact news events, but not on the daily chart. But apparently the price is really fractal, so it doesn't really matter that much. Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it's not that easy, right? It's not that easy. It's complex. It's complex, and I mean, technicals maybe are easy, but what's complex is the psychological aspect, the mindset, the what you can weather, how you can weather it, and stuff like that. And a little things, very small little things, can many times throw you off, and that's a beginning of an end many times. And I went through it too. So uh, yeah, always respect the risks. That's for sure. But yeah, so far we've taken those relative equal highs, and price is very, very efficiently trading above it, drawing towards the lower quadrant. There is this pre-market buy side, so that's the blue line. That's the pre-market session buy side liquidity, basically. And tapping into this and into this quadrant in here, that would be like the point of make or break type of idea, whether it will continue lower or not. So far, not gonna lie, very, very nice price run from this inversion fair value gap at 958 to initially the buy set here, and now likely the pre-market high with the 25% opening range gap level, the lower quadrant. Really, really nice one. So yeah, not gonna lie, I would love to be in it, to be able to be in it for my silver bullet for today. That would be amazing. Yet I wasn't really so quickly adapting or so quickly thinking to get in right there, and it moved without me. So again, that's a condition, a psychological condition that I'm dealing with right now, and I have to deal with somehow. And missing a move sometimes can be painful or annoying, right? But the whole mastery of it, or the whole point of it, is to learn or teach yourself to be kind of indifferent to it, because yeah, these moves repeat, right? This is not the first time price made a price run from a PDRA to a liquidity pool or something like that. That's happening all the time. But yeah, obviously sometimes you just want to perform better, and when you don't or you miss, then it's annoying. But yeah, I'm walking you through my mind a little bit. Nonetheless, we'll see. I'm still watching whether we can offer any turn around in here. Would be interesting to see. Admittedly. Right, so the pre-market buy sell liquidity was also taken out And now we are gonna approach the lower quadrant of the opening range gap. And that would pretty much fulfill the expectation or the any need of the rally on the upside, right? So it wouldn't really need to go any further than that if it wants to roll over lower. If it does, we'll see how much and how it will do it. But yeah, let's see. All right, so far price is failing to even touch the lower quadrant with the wicks. So in that regard, it could be showing some measure of weakness in here, potentially. Also, there was no close above the pre-market buy side, only wicks were allowed to trade above it, no bodies late above it there. So that's also interesting, not gonna lie. And that could support the idea of a measure of weakness entering the marketplace to potentially see it roll over and make a lower low on the day. So the 947, that's the sell side liquidity for the day. That's the low of the day on a bearish day, and we have still plethora of time until the market close. So it could have been, or it might be reasonable to see it still deliver a lower low on the day, especially as there is this Wednesday AM session low, sell side liquidity too. So they both form kind of like relative equal lows. And we already have taken buy side liquidity, absorbed that. So far we failed to even reach the lower quadrant. So that's really bearish if it can stay like this. And if we can start like seeing some premium raise being respected on this side of the curve, then it should be or could be a trade lower there. So let's see what we will actually get out of it. The ranges are enormous, by the way. So couple of minutes of trading is 100 handles here, 100 handles there in minutes. So the volatility is exceptionally large. All right. So what do we have that I could actually measure the strength or weakness of this current price run? We have this discount week in here that's basically over top of this relative equal highs. So that's a reasonable array in here to watch and measure the current strength or weakness. So far we traded to it. Here the second candle is already running away from it, so I'm watching how it can hold around here, and whether we can maybe fail and go below it. That would be interesting also. All right. So looks like we are potentially getting the turning point in here or around here. It's potentially there, but still I want to see some fair value gap form, some clean imbalance, clean inefficiency, clean premium array, really, that I could potentially use or facilitate any idea with. I am noting that we are trading to the low of the opening range gap for today. So this is also like a key level. And so far we are not breaching it. So that's like a line in the sand that could keep it consolidated or higher, unless we would start losing ground. The fact that we wicked below this discount wick in here is that it has to trade higher right now if it's bullish, and so far it does. So far it could potentially see a higher high here, right? Potentially. We'll see how it goes, but there is always a potential for things like this. So that's where the minor buy side liquidity resides at the moment. And they could easily come back for it, for anyone who was trying to catch an early short for continuation lower, and just tap them. All right. By the way, Mr. Breaker Futures, I knew it. As you said that you are done and only watching, I knew that you will take something. I knew it. I didn't want to say it, but I really knew it. That's great. Alrighty. So if it wants to trade higher, it really needs to do it here. Sure, I get it. I mean, one mini inside of this environment, inside of these ranges, is actually pretty crazy though. Like there are 1 minute candles that are moving 50, 70, 80 handles. That's a lot of movement. That's a lot of movement, and 1 minute is actually, it could literally cut your head off. Okay, we are still inside of this week. Upper half of that week. The bodies are respecting it, but the time is really ticking. So if it wants to trade higher, it should do it about this time. Well, that means that you are good or well funded. So that's very nice. That's very important though, for proper decision making, I suppose. Right. So since the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes, we are basically inside the same range. Marking time. Just now, we are starting to move. So I assume this high, this minor buy side, might be a point of interest on the upside for the price at this moment. All right, so we have a small little fair value gap right there. Let's see. Preferably it should stay open if it wants to poke higher. All right, so it already traded through it. Potential bullish order block in here. And if the body can close above it, that's still reasonable to expect this high. But if not, then I believe we might shift our attention to the lower prices again. Yes, the bodies are still respecting this little inefficiency. So this week could have been on Moho right there. It wicked below it. So it should really move away higher from it if it's correct. And the near-term assumption would be to seek potentially this minor buy side liquidity in here. Yeah, it could really shoot up and clear that, and then we'll see what we get. But if it's gonna go higher, it should do it from where it is, and it should do it smoothly. So far, it's finding a little bit of resistance at this last fair value gap in this price swing. but this should give way eventually if that's bullish. And that's what it is so far, right? More or less. All right, so I'm watching if we can close above this bearish fair value gap and use it as inversion. All right, so it's kind of struggling in here. It's kind of struggling in here, but yet I'm sticking to the expectation that we could see a higher high before a more meaningful turn. But let's see, it's 10:40, so 20 minutes left for the silver bullet. We are after our first hour of trading. We basically traded higher, took very smooth buy side, but it's not really expanding that clearly or aggressively as it is right now. It left a nice little liquidity pool on the sell side right here, below the 1029 low, which is technically a relative equal low too. So now it closed above this little fair value gap in here, so it should really touch the high. There is also a potential bullish order block and send it towards this minor buy side liquidity. That's a great decision, Mr. Breaker Futures. That's I believe a correct choice at this point. It's getting a little bit tricky in here. So yeah, certainly this run from this inversion to those relative equal highs and pre-market high was the cleanest price run of this hour, and that was an actual silver bullet that was there, but I missed it. Even though I was looking at it potentially forming, I didn't took it. I wasn't fast enough or quick enough to engage it by any means, and it was already tearing apart. So it is what it is, I guess. So it became very efficient in here on both sides. It closed above this, but it didn't really use it as inversion. It's kind of messing around this one, but it's also not that clean. And we have this sell side here and the buy side here right now, the main drivers. Let's see. It kind of becomes 50-50 at this moment. Yeah, literally, these ranges are insane. I mean, insanely large and volatile right now. That's for sure. And this compression towards the end of the hour, it kind of looks like it might want to still reach for the buy side in here, but because it's so I don't know how to describe it, so fuzzy, that's for sure, but also so neutral in a sense. It's not really forming any inefficiencies. It's not really working off of inefficiencies very well right now. It really went into a consolidation, and yeah, that's always slightly trickier to engage and invites more 50-ness, 50-50-ness, like lower probability for sure. And yeah, so we are poking now inside of this little fair value gap right there, and the bodies are staying inside of it for this time being. But because we already did it many times, it's difficult to trust it. So let's see. It seems like it's kind of turning its interest towards the sell side liquidity here. Back into this discount week. Right, the fact that we are spending so much time above those relative equal highs, that's also interesting. All right, so we closed below this and we touched made attached to it as a potential bearish inversion for value gap right now, and it rejected that nicely. So I'm watching this minor sell side. If we can poke into it, and we will be going into the 1050 to 1110 macro very shortly. So we'll see what it can offer as a potential price run. But so far, price is inside of a consolidation. And therefore, it is what it is, I guess. The 5-minute chart. Yeah, let's see. The fact that we couldn't even reach the lower quadrant is kind of interesting. That might indicate some weakness going forward, admittedly. Spending much time above relative equal highs could be a measure of distribution too, many times. And that's allowed versus spending time inside of inefficiencies. But all right, so we rolled over, took this minor sell side liquidity in here. And now let's see. We are likely to close below this discount week. That could become a potential inversion after that. And yeah, let's see. So the macro is starting basically right now. We've taken the sell side here, and we left those kind of suspect highs in here. The bodies stayed inside of this discount week. It closed below the consecutive encroachment, admittedly, but it's still inside of the inefficiency or gap, or weak is gap. It formed this larger week in here too. So I'm watching this one as a point of reference. And I'm thinking whether we could see like a run on sell side here and actual run higher on the buy side into that opening range gap, lower quadrant eventually, because this turning point around here is kind of suspect. It's kind of, you know, just meandering, and now we are moving lower. But does it has the substance behind it? We'll see. So far, it looks bearish still, or potentially bearish still. Close below this weak consecutive encroachment. I don't see that as strength by any means. So for me to consider this run on the buy side in here, it would need to come back above this discount week, which went below it. So it's a potential inversion here. So we are tapping into it right now. So if it's actually, you know, just meandering, and now we are moving lower, but does it has the substance behind it? We'll see. So far, it looks bearish still, or potentially bearish still. Close below this weak consecutive encroachment. I don't see that as strength by any means. So for me to consider this run on the buy side in here, it would need to come back above this discount week, which went below it. So it's a potential inversion here. So we are tapping into it right now. So if it's gonna go higher for those highs. It should, without any issues, trade above it on a closing basis. So I'm watching if that can actually happen right now. And how much of potential range would it offer? Around 95 handles on the upside of potential. And yep. All right, so again, trading inside of it. Let's see, if it's bearish, it should offer a rejection quickly. And don't really allow for a run inside of the upper half of it. So let's see. That doesn't really look like very clean at this moment either. So I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, admittedly, it looks kind of suspect. This low looks kind of suspect too. But yeah, we got the close above it. We got the close above it, so that means we should never see a body again inside of the lower half. And that could maybe allow for a run towards the buy set here. But am I so confident that this will happen? Not sure. Not sure. It could, right? It could. It's maybe or technically reasonable, but I don't think I see it as such a high probability in here. It's more like, let's see. It gave this touch in here. That's basically an immediate rebalance right there too. So if it's good, it should be running almost immediate rebalance. Very close to it. But I would still consider it as immediate rebalance in here. So if it's good, it should be posting quickly higher. If it fails in here, though, I suspect that we might drop towards those inefficiencies here. And maybe the low even. But the first printed fair value gap makes probably the most sense then. Yet we are running a little bit low on time. So it's 10:57 almost. So yeah, that's kind of like make or break, but I kind of like the idea that if it would fail, targeting this low would be interesting, potentially. But let's not be overzealous about it here. All right, looks like this lower low might be warranted in here though. I don't know. I kind of, my gut feeling is telling me that this lower low in here is likely, and return to that daily fair value gap there do I have a setup in here necessarily as a silver bullet? I have this inversion for value gap right there, potentially, if I would like to do so. But yeah, it's kind of late, and again, it's kind of moving away. So let's see still this one more minute, but I guess taking into consideration the fact that it's so consolidated here, and it's a little bit iffy. Yeah, it could do that, it could do that. Maybe let's take the PM session rather than just making a YOLO trade just for the sake of taking one. Yeah, I think that's a route I will take, but nonetheless, I think this low will be taken out, and the run that I was potentially thinking about was to use this inversion for value gap there to run to the low, to the sell liquidity here below this low, and potentially towards the daily bullish for value gap. And we can see, we can watch whether it would pan out or not. But that's what I was considering. So 11 o'clock hits, the morning session silver bullet is basically passed, and that was the last session, last setup idea that I had before the silver bullet closed. And let's see two more minutes if it would actually take this low or not. And that might be something that I'm curious to see. But yeah, overall, let's make a little bit of a review. Today's morning session, all day long trading lower, so pretty much bearish order flow throughout the day, tapping into a daily bullish for value gap after a enormous opening range gap to the discount, or the discount opening range gap. Price engineering those relative equal highs at the low of the opening range gap was basically the candy land silver bullet idea that delivered, but I didn't took it eventually. And then basically we meandered around inside of a consolidation, more or less, and not much was happening after that in terms of a very, very clean and more pronounced price runs. There is a very small little fair value gap right there that it just traded into, and I'm watching if it could deliver to that sell side in here, because this was like my last idea for the silver bullet for this morning session, that I would potentially consider taking, but to the conditions, to the fact that it felt a little bit forced at the end, and the fact that I already missed a beautiful run in here, yeah, I just passed on this one, just watching whether it will deliver. I like how it's stretching towards that. That's pretty nice. I would expect the next candle or two really pick up some speed and run through it, if possible. That would be a nice little price delivery for this morning session, or for the end of the silver bullet for the AM session. Nonetheless, I will be back one more time today, so 3 streams for the PM session, and I will try to find a little piece of the cake for me, for the account, if I will be able to do so, as no trades today so far. No trades today so far. And yeah, looks like it will really convincingly spike through this. So that could have been a good idea. I mean, that would work out. If I took it, it would pan out exactly, or likely exactly, because it didn't yet, as I would expect. And that would be a moral victory if it did. But if it failed, if it would fail, so coming so close to it and not taking the low, I would consider that as a failure. Then if it goes higher, then I did the right thing not engaging it. So that Lucid account, that's the flex one, flex option version. I don't know. And yep. All right, rejecting this like it does here. That's probably like the last chance for it to deliver lower, if it wants to do so. It trades to the consecutive encroacher of this week. It should smash that lower low in the next minute or two, and that's basically how long I will stay with it. If it doesn't, then that's pretty much going to be it for this morning session. But just curious. All right, let's go. Give it to me. This candle or the next one? Run the sell side, please. Pretty please. And yeah, but nonetheless, that little fractal in here would be logical in my mind, in my opinion, if that actually delivers the sell side. So I'm only watching this because that's something that I would potentially consider as a setup in the future. So I would just like to see a potential example of it panning out, even if I'm not in it. That's something I would like to observe. It's very close to it, so it should take it, and that would be considered a moral victory in here if it does. Preferably not only to it, but through it. But yeah, it has still time to do so. And this candle opens and trades lower. Bank. Can I please? Can I? Well, we're waiting. Okay, thanks. So we got it. So that would work. That would have panned out too. And that's a moral victory on my part in here. So yeah, that's it for this session. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I see you in the PM session later today. At least I will be there. You don't have to, but I will be there. and I'll be looking for a bullet there. So thanks for watching and see you later. Bye bye.